Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to tell about the basics of internet. That means I would like to share my understanding and experience related to web development. Okay, it's not a complete tutorial about any kind of specific programming language or any database or any other stuff, but it is the overview about the web development. Okay, as I said, mostly it's for sharing my understanding or experience related to web development. Okay, and if a lot of people are watching this kind of video means I will be doing a lot of similar videos. Okay, that's the plan. Otherwise, mostly as you have noticed, my YouTube channel is for sharing the latest emerging technology related news items. It's like news about 3D printing, CRISPR, gene editing, and robots, drones, artificial intelligence, that kind of emerging technologies items. Okay. Uh, in this video, as I said, I will be telling about the basics of internet. Okay. Um, I have noticed that many people who are good at any kind of programming language or other stuffs are still lacking the understanding of very basics about the internet. The lack of this kind of knowledge is severely affecting their work performance whenever they try to do any kind of projects. Okay, I have noticed this when hiring the people for my company and when training them and uh, guiding them and doing the projects for our clients. Okay, uh, that's why I just wanted to highlight the importance of understanding the very basics of the internet. Okay, that's the reason I'm coming up this video as a first video for my initiative of teaching through the YouTube. Okay, um, as a first thing, I will just try to explain the basics of how or what's happening when we try to request a website, and basically what's happening when we view or browse any website or any content. Okay, so you might have heard about a lot of web browsers like Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome and Safari. A lot of web browsers are there, Microsoft Internet Explorer or Edge. So these kind of web browsers are helping us to view the websites or any kind of web content, right? These things are called as web clients. Actually, we need not have the web browsers. I mean, web browsers are not the only web clients. We can send the requests through other ways also. Say, for example, from the Linux computer, you can use the command like wget from the command prompt to request the website. So it's like a simple client software. Okay, so basically for getting the website or any kind of web page or any web content, we have to use a web client program for sending the requests. So for example, if you type the codes.net as your request, there may be other details required because the server needs to understand the details about your computer or your any other device, right? Then only it will be able to send the response to your browser, correct? So basically these kind of browsers are technically it will be known as user agent. These kind of user agents are doing that kind of tasks, preparing the header details and send them to your desired server. Okay, it is the very basic. So for sending the request on any uh, for any website, we have to first use the web client or user agent, generally web browsers. Okay. And whenever you type the website address or URL at the address for the web browser and then hit the enter, that request will be passed to the web server. Web server is nothing but the computer which is running a server software like Apache or IAS, like that. Okay. So they are known as web servers. Okay. And that web servers will be getting that request, and once after getting the request, they will be preparing the response. Okay. It's a complex process depending on whether you are using uh, like database, or whether you are requesting a HTML page or a dynamic page like PHP. So it's a different process. I will be talking about it later. Okay. So for example, if it's a simple HTML file, means the HTML file will be stored on the server computer on a particular path. So when you are requesting the path through the web browser, it will be just sending the file to your computer, and it will be delivered to you. So you will be viewing the content of the file. It's a very basic example. And if the request is, I mean, if you are requesting a PHP file, PHP is a scripting language used in the servers. Okay. So if you are requesting the PHP file, the server will parse the PHP, and it will prepare the HTML content, and then it will send the HTML content. So basically, whenever you are sending the request, at the end, you will be receiving the HTML content only. Okay. It's a basic things. And if you are having any database, the server will be uh, connecting with the database, and it will be sending the queries used in the web program, and then it will get the answers, and it will prepare that results along with the web page content, and it will be delivering the result page to your web browser. That's the basic operation related to websites. Okay. And moreover, you might have noticed that whenever you are sending the request to the web browser, I mean from the web browser to the server, you will be either using HTTP or HTTPS, right? These are the protocols for managing all these things. Okay. That basically the communication between the web client and the web server. Okay. So HTTP is a simple protocol which is not encrypting the request and response. But whenever you use the HTTPS, it will be a secured protocol. That means your request and responses will be encrypted. Okay. So for example, if you are sending the request using HTTP protocol, whoever tapping the content in between the communication between your client and server, they will be able to read or know the details about what's going on. Okay. So if you are doing any financial transaction and another important login details, they will be knowing about your password, other stuff, and they can use it or misuse it. Okay. So to avoid those things, it is better to use the HTTP request, but the server should support that. Okay. Recently, a lot of servers are supporting, because the search engine Google is giving some benefits in their search results for the HTTPS supported websites. Okay. So currently, a lot of websites are using that one, but still some websites are using HTTP. Okay. The HTTP protocol is taking care of sending the request in a predefined format, so that the server can understand the details about the web browser, and it will be able to, basically it will be able to send back the response to the correct web client. Okay. the server may be serving hundreds of or even millions of uh, web clients. Okay, so it's important to deliver the content to the appropriate register. Okay, so the HTTP protocol will be taking care of all these things. Okay, and we need to understand the catching also. Catching in the sense, it's just storing the content locally. So for example, if your browser is catching a website, means instead of getting the web page content from the server, sometimes the browser will be taking the content from your own computer itself. Say for example, if you are visiting the website second time, it will be reusing the content available from the first time's visit. Okay, that is the concept of caching. Okay, so there are a lot of different kinds of caching and caching related stuff. Okay, so basically the browser cache means yeah, the browser will be storing the content in your local, and apart from the browser cache, even the ISP, internet service providers, will also be caching the content, and the server is having, if they are using dynamic websites main, they will be having server cache for serving the dynamic content fast. Okay, that is cache available in the server. And apart from that, CDN, content delivery networks, if the servers are using CDN, then again the CDNs will also cache the contents like images and other stuff. Okay, so there are a lot of caching happening in the websites. Okay, so if you are going to troubleshoot something, you should understand that. Okay, so if you are changing the code, you cannot expect the immediate result when you browse the website. Okay, so it will be we have to think about the caching perspective. So say for example, you're developing one website, and you entered the content wrongly and you correct it, and you, when you view that page, you will not be seeing the corrected content. You will be seeing the old content. Okay, so for seeing the fresh content, you have to clear the cache. Okay, you can do it from your browser, from settings. Okay, browser settings, you have to clear the local cache. Okay, otherwise even the you can use the keyboard shortcut track. Instead of using F5 key alone, you can use the control F5 something, some combination, so that your content will be refreshed. Okay, instead of using the cache content, it will be using the fresh content. Okay, so we have to understand that one. So this is all about the content cache. Okay, apart from content cache, even the request, I mean the part of request, like if you are requesting the website, the course.net, the course.net website related meta information will also be cached. Okay, say for example, for you're typing the website, the course.net, from your browser, uh, and you will be expecting the homepage content of the course.net website. Okay, for delivering the homepage or for getting the homepage content of the course.net, actually your browser will be able to reach the server at which the course.net content is hosted. Okay, so basically it will be recurring the address of the particular server. So basically IP addresses are the unique way of identifying any kind of web server. Okay, so we are having two kinds of IP address. One is static IP, another is dynamic IP. So whenever you are using local LAN network, so all the computers connected in the LAN will be using dynamic IP mostly. You might have seen like your IP address is 192.168.3 or .4 or .5 like that, right? So they will be varying dynamically. So if you change the or switch on your router and switch it on back, so your IP will be mostly changed. Okay. um, or if you are connecting new computers or removing some computers, so some activities will trigger the change of your IP address. So it is not possible to reach your computer with that kind of dynamic IP address. Okay. But for reaching any particular computer server, we have to know the static IP addresses. Okay. So all the web servers computers will be using the static IP. Then only we will be able to reach them. Okay. Even you can get the static IP. Suppose if you are planning to use your local computer as for hosting any website, you can use it by getting the static IP. Your ISP will be able to provide that static IP. Okay. So once after getting the static IP, you can host the websites on your local computer also. Okay. That is the facts about IP addresses. Okay. So whenever you type the web address, the codes.net, the browser has to translate it into the IP address of that server. Okay. So for that, if you have already visited that website, that IP corresponding IP address will be stored or cached on your local computer itself. Okay. It will be stored somewhere in config or temporary folders. It's kind of lookup table. This server URL means, or domain means, it should visit this IP, like that. So it's basically domain name versus IP address lookup. Okay. So similarly, your ISP will also store that kind of information. Say for example, if someone connected to your ISP already visited the website docos.net, that corresponding IP address will be stored in the your ISP's DNS servers, domain name servers. Okay. So it's a kind of DNS resolving. Okay. So it's a complex process. I'm just explaining it in a simple way. Okay. So whenever you type the address of the website, it has to translate into the corresponding IP address. It will be done in various ways. As a first time, if no one visited from your computer or from your ISP, that resolving will happen in the higher levels. Okay. Maybe domain register lookup DNS servers. Okay. Otherwise, if you are already visited means, it will be available with the local cache or ISP cache or somewhere in between the ISP and the server. Okay. So it's about DNS resolving. Okay. So if there are many caches means that DNS resolving will be happening very quickly. Okay. Again, we need to understand, as a web developer, we have to understand this fact also. So if your server is changing the IP address, or you are changing the hosting, or your ISP is changing the servers, some kind of activities will be affecting the DNS resolving. Okay. So mostly you will be noticing this particularly when you change the hosting locations, or if you are transferring the ownership of the domain. Okay. So that time the DNS propagation will be taking more time. So whatever your changes you are making in your server, it's not going to reflect immediately. Okay. Some flushing commands are available to flush the DNS cache from your local, but you don't have much control over the ISP and other computers, right? So we have to wait for the completion of the propagation, DNS propagation. Okay, that's the thing we have to understand whenever you deal with web development. Okay, so first we need to understand that content will be cached in various levels, and we have to understand that the DNS lookup will be cached in various levels. So these are the things will be confusing the people in some levels of some kind of development stuff. So we have to understand those things, but just reading the theoretical concepts, it's not going to help you. We have to understand approximately how much time it will take, and what we have to do, and so it's kind of practical stuff. So what I'm trying to say is we need to be aware of those things. So if you're making some changes and if it's not reflecting, so we have to think about in that way. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's unique scenario in for everyone. Okay, I'm not going to say that you have to do like this or like that. But what I'm saying is you have to be aware of this stuff. Okay. This is about DNS propagation and the other catching stuff. Okay, and other things like as I said, the browsers are various browsers, and though the browsers like Firefox and Google Chrome are different, the basically that the Chromium all are using the internally they are using mostly the similar engines, but the browsers like Internet Explorer, other stuffs are using bit different concept. Okay, so if you want to make your website available to all the browsers, and if you want to um, uh, make it workable in all kind of browsers and different resolutions, you need to take care of those things also. Okay, and some people will be enabling the JavaScripts, and some people will keep it disabled, so we have to consider those things also. Okay, so that is the fundamental thing, because if you are going to host your website or develop any website and expecting the people to visit your website, you need to understand that the people will be from various browsers. They will be using different kind of browsers with different kind of settings, with some additional plugins or extensions. Okay, so we need to understand all those things, and we have to carefully handle those things. Okay, so basically the JavaScript, what I am saying is mostly JavaScript. Okay, is client-side scripting engine. Okay, okay, so whatever script you are creating when developing a website, that JavaScript will be run from your web browser. Okay, so if the people are disabling, that means whatever you work put with JavaScript is not going to available to them. Okay, so we need to understand that also. So we have to first keep the primary functionality through the core coding, like server-side coding. And if there are any additional convenient validations, other stuffs, we have to put it from the JavaScript perspective. Say, for example, if you are planning to create a registration form, okay, so for example, that the password length should be like 8 characters, or the username should start with lowercase, like that. If you have any specific validation, you can validate using the JavaScript. There is no harm. Okay, but the major things, say for example, the username should be like it should be only minimum 8 characters. That kind of very compulsory stuff for validations are there. Means you have to put them through the server validation. Okay, because some people will be bypassing that JavaScript validation by disabling the JavaScript code. Okay, so the JavaScript validation is giving some benefits, because it will validate the content or form entry even before submitting the form, right? So even before reaching the server, you will be able to validate the content. So basically that content submitted from the user will be reaching the server with validated. Okay, so that's the benefit. But some important validations we have to again validate from the server also. Okay, that kind of stuff we need to understand. Okay. um, and as I said, different browsers will be having different JavaScript engines. Okay, so it's better to use the JavaScript libraries like jQuery. That they will be taking care of the various variations. Okay, so instead of writing different coding for Java, Internet Explorer, and different coding for Mozilla Firefox, you can write a common code using jQuery, and jQuery will be taking care of the uh, browser specific handling. Okay, that is the basic stuff about using JavaScript coding for client side validations. Okay, it's not only for validation, for other user experience improvement we can use the jQuery. Okay, so as I said, I will be telling or explaining about through with some examples and other stuff. Okay, this video is just for giving the overview. Okay, and um, if you are using database, whenever the request reaches the web server, that for example the PHP coding should be having the details for connecting the database. Okay, so once after the connection is established, you will be able to write the coding from your PHP script to get the data, or update the data, or delete the rows from your database. So basically whatever operations you can do on the database will be able to you will be able to do it from your PHP script. Okay, uh, so this is another thing. Okay, so basically you will be having the web client and web server, and if you are having any database server, you will be your server will be able to connect with the database server. It's a kind of three-tier architecture, right? So you'll be having client, and you'll be having server, and again database. Some Most of the cases the database server will be hosted on the same machine with the web server. Okay, um, but sometimes some cases they will be in separate computers. Okay, but anyway, for connecting with the database, you will record the database server name and username and the password. And for connecting with particular database, you will be recording the database name also. Okay. Um, for example, if you want to develop your timesheet website, you will be recurring a database for storing the employee details and timesheet details and other project details. Okay, and for managing the timesheet entry screen and other web pages, you will be recurring JavaScript coding for doing validations, other stuff. Okay, and you will be using the PHP from the server side to handle all the things, manage the things like connecting with database and getting the uh, content from database and send it to the client side. Okay, so now I understand. I hope that you understand the overview, right? So browser is for sending the request, and web server is for getting the request and then deliver the response. Delivering the response in the sense, if it is a plain HTML page, it will just send as it is, and if it's dynamic pages like PHP page made, so it will execute the PHP coding first, and it will send the result HTML file to the client. And if it is using database, the web server will be connecting with the database, and it will be running the SQL query written from your PHP code, and it will send the result set to the um, uh, web client. Okay, browser. Okay, this is the overall process. Internally it may be working in different ways that I'm not going to talk. Even I am not aware of those things, but as a web developer we need to understand this level of stuff, right? What is web browser, and what is web server, and what is database server, like that. Okay, so these are the important things. And as I said, web browsers, different web browsers are there, like Google Chrome, Chromium, Microsoft Internet Explorer, or Edge, and Mozilla Firefox, Safari, like that. A lot of browsers are available. We need to understand the target audiences uh, usage of browsers, because it's very difficult to satisfy all the browsers. At least we can consider about the major web browsers that are going to be used by your target audience. Okay, so that's the one major thing. Okay, and other thing is web server. As I said, a lot of web servers are there, like Apache, IAS. They are the popular web servers. Okay, and again, um, we need to understand the server operation, at least server settings, to manage our development process very effectively. Okay, I will be talking about it in separate video. Okay, mostly I will be telling about the developments related to PHP with the Apache server and the MySQL database. Okay, uh, generally, I prefer the open source systems, though I've used other systems also. I prefer to work with open source systems like Linux operating system, and Apache web server, and PHP scripting language, like that. Okay, MySQL database, like that. Okay, so mostly I will be talking with, whenever I try to explain with the examples, I will be using these technologies. Okay, as a web developer, we should understand the business requirements. It is as much important as understanding the technology itself. Okay, um, so for example, if you are going to develop a timesheet application or any similar kind of application, it's important to understand the current process, manual processes, right? So it's very, very important to understand the purpose of doing web development, right? So obviously, it is like converting any existing manual process. Like already, say for example, it's a simple content, HTML content means it's already there in any book or any paper format, right? So you are going to put it in the HTML format and host it in the web server. So I'm just telling about the simple example. Similarly, if you are going to develop a timesheet application, already people, the business people, will be using Excel sheet or printed papers to get the inputs of times and other timesheet related stuff, right? So they will be willing to convert that manual process into the web application. Okay, so uh, their purpose is to convert the current process and put it in online, so that they will be able to do it from anywhere. That's the key advantage of websites, right? So for example, if you have content in a paper, you will be able to see it only if you are physically available near that paper, right? But if it is hosted on website, you can do it, view it from anywhere in the world, right? And similarly, a lot of people can simultaneously view it. Okay, that's a key thing about putting online the content. Okay, so similarly, if you are going to develop a web application like timesheet, then the users will be able to access it from anywhere and from any place, right? At any time. So we need to very careful about uh, putting all the manual features when we develop the websites. Okay, As I said, the key advantage of websites, it's a different thing, okay? But it will be really useful only when the basic features which are already available are implemented when you develop the website, okay? That we need to understand, okay? So just creating web pages and other stuffs are okay, but it should address the very basic purpose of the application, okay? So that's very important. And the scalability, so it's very difficult to come up with all the requirements in the first time itself. So mostly the business people will be giving the requirements, basic requirements, and they will be asking to add a lot of new features later. uh, but our application development should consider about this kind of scalability. Otherwise, just adopting the new changes, it's very difficult. Okay, so whenever you create the functions, others just design. Whenever you design your application, you need to think about the scalability perspective. Even scalability in the many verticals, like even the translations. Say for example, their customers will be in one particular language, so whenever you develop the application, it will be in English, but sometimes later they will be asking you to put it in other languages also, okay? A lot of different concepts are there for translation, but what I'm saying is we have to think about in that way, okay? You need not spend all the time to the complete scalability things, but you should understand how you are developing the application and what are the ways of scaling them, okay? And reusability, like if some particular function is getting used in various scenarios or various places, mean instead of rewriting the code, better to put them everything under a function, and then we can call the function, okay? And that's the thing. A lot of stuff are under performance from, because that's the important thing. A lot of people will be able to create the application, but the performance limitations will be um, will be able to stop using the application. As I said, just creating application is not enough. The business has to use them. Other then only it will be successful. Okay, that's all for this video. But as I said, I am planning to add the detailed tutorials, other kind of more videos in future if there is any demand for them. So if you are interested to watch further videos, just mention that in the comments, okay? I will be putting more efforts for bringing that kind of videos soon, okay? Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe for this channel, okay? Thanks.